or the series of conversations. Nicky, international speaker, author, best-selling book, Disrupt. You can either disrupt yourself or be disrupted. Nicky, great to have you back. We only had a 5-6 minute discussion yesterday, and I thought, no, it's not enough. We need to get more of you. So it's good to have you on the show. Welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me again, Kino.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I want to go back and start with the story you told us yesterday, that personal story. You were left disrupted in your own life, not knowing what to do, and then you sort of hit this realization. So if you can give us a pre-seed version of that story again, I think people would appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It's a story I've told so many times, but every time I tell it, it feels like it's the first time I'm talking about it because I'm still getting used to it myself.
Yeah.
You know. So, yes, like I told you yesterday, back in 2016, I got retrenched, and I did not see it coming. So I had plans for the future, of course, and I was expecting to climb the famous corporate ladder. And so it happened, and it hit me so hard. To say it was one of the most difficult times in my life would be an understatement, really. I was shattered, But when the pain subsided, I started asking questions like, but what is driving retrenchment at the rate in which it's driving retrenchment? How can an organization let go, say, maybe 2,500 employees, for example, in a space of like 2 years or 3 years, and they don't crash? In my mind, I thought, organizations are the people, holding things together. I mean, people are the source or the strength holding an organization together. And so my mind did not kind of understood what this was. And so I wanted to know exactly how do you survive letting that many people go? And so I started my research on understanding what this thing was. Remember, I had no background in IT, and I knew nothing about technology. I am not even the smartest person in the room, for crying out loud. I'm not an academician by any stretch of imagination. So, but I wanted to know. So I went on the internet and I started reading as much as I could. And it was then that I came across even words like, artificial intelligence that you just mentioned, and robotics, and all of these emerging technologies that I had no prior knowledge to that. I didn't even know anything existed like that. And so I realized that these are, things that are holding an organization together, even if they let go of so many people. Computers are at work. Computers are becoming smarter, and they can do even a better job than most humans can do. And so I became very fascinated with that. I was like, wow, this is interesting. And so I started writing about it on social media. Thank God for social media. It's kind of like a place where you can test your stuff and see how people respond to it. So even though I didn't know I was testing it, I was just posting it out there. And then I realized that there was a hunger for this. People really wanted to know what this was. So the more I was writing about it, the more good feedback I was getting. And then it evolved into a blog. I actually just started blogging, actually writing much articles about it.
Yes. And
the more I wrote again, I realized, I think someone needs to write a book about this. But I didn't think that someone was me. I was hoping it would be someone else. Because I was like, I'm not a writer. I gave myself a million reasons why I shouldn't do this. I'm not a writer. I can't even speak proper English, for crying out loud. I was like, my English is so broken that you have to pick the pieces and put together. I'm like, no, I can't. I can't write. So after giving myself all of these excuses in the book, and I realized that the thought would not leave my head about writing the book. So I was like, okay, let's do this. And so it just evolved from those Facebook posts to blog articles into a book. And I just realized that because this thing happened to me, I got disrupted when I did not plan for it. So the title just came out of you are either disrupting or someone will disrupt your life, because there is no neutral ground. Some people think that they can sit on the fence and this thing will pass away. No, it's not going anywhere. You have to be proactive.
No, but you have to. What did you do before that? I mean, what were you involved in before you started, stumbling upon this realization, as you were telling us? What were you doing?
Exactly. I wasn't in anything fancy. I was in admin. I was working at Netcare for a doctor as a PA. That was really what I did.
Oh, wow. So, and that's important, right? Everybody thinks you need a degree in order to make a difference. Life in and of itself, as cliched as it might sound, is a degree if you care to listen and take the lessons that life have to offer you.
Exactly. I had a lot of work to do with myself in terms of mentally have to prepare myself for this, deconstruct, because I knew, according to world standard, I should not even be doing this, I don't qualify, to write a book. I don't qualify to start telling people about tech. I knew nothing about this. The first time to come across the term, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, was during my research. I didn't know anything like that existed. And had it been, I did not embark on it, probably I would understand knowing it now, because now it's more like a buzzword and people are throwing it here and there. But I came across this thing online by myself and I was shocked at how much I didn't know. But however, because I came from that place of, just doing nothing fancy in admin, I told myself so many times that I cannot do this. I cannot do this. This is not for me. But within me, I had this hunger and this passion to let the world know or to let people know what they are capable of in spite of, anything. And I was like, you know what, I had to fix my own self. So I started with my mindset to fix it, to bring myself to that point of, no, Nicky, you can do this thing. It's not about degrees. It's not about, what the world defines you as qualified. It's none of that. If within your heart you believe you can do this thing, you can. And then I ended up, even there's a chapter in the book where I talk about education is not... schooling is not education, which is something that is quite disruptive that I've also written in the book.
I tend to agree with you.
So schooling is not education. So I realized that I can get education on my own, and I don't need anybody to certify me.
Man, you need access to the internet. You need to read, get hold of some good books, and you can educate. And here's a discussion I've been having with the team, and we'll get to it one day. Hey, yesterday we almost didn't, but I want us to dig a little deeper. Paul Kagame's got his own challenges. He's not an angel.
He's not.
We know that, and no one's saying that he is. But what Rwanda does do right is they seize the opportunity, especially from a tech point of view. But before we get there, it's a discussion I've been having with Joe. Now, we all come from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. Well, they were still disadvantaged, we all come from really poor areas, and we've had, terrible upbringings and all the rest of it with great parents. And Joe was saying, and Joe, you don't mind me saying this again, hey? Joe was saying people must stop feeling sorry for themselves.
Absolutely.
He said you must stop blaming everything else on where you find yourself right now. And I tend to agree with him, because people go back and they will go back to colonialism and they'll go back to apartheid. Now, as bad as they both were, the responsibility surely still lies with you to take back that future that you potentially could have.
Yeah.
Or should have had.
Absolutely, I agree.
So how does one do that?
For me, the thing is that so many people, you don't need a special skill to complain, right? This is what I always
trust
say.
Me.
You don't need to be highly gifted to complain. It's something that anybody can do.
Yes.
And it's human nature. It comes easily. To spot a problem, to see problems and point fingers, you don't need to be highly skilled to do that. However, people gravitate towards the easy part, the easy things naturally as humans. But now, what distinguishes you is, are you thinking in solution forms, or are you just going to complaining? Because when you start asking yourself, okay, what next? What do we do to move out of here? That is when your mind finds those solutions. But if you are constantly always complaining and playing the victim and all of that, your mind is never going to move out of that. Out of that state. But when you start asking yourself the hard questions, which is conversations that many people don't want to have, right? It's uncomfortable. But when you ask yourself the hard questions, what do I do to better my life? What do I do to improve my life? Then you will find a way to do that, to improve your life. But for many people, it's easy to complain and it's easy to depend on the government and the promises of the government and the promises of people, the promises of parents, the promises of friends, so that when they fail tomorrow, then it goes back to being easy again. Someone to blame, right? Someone to point fingers. The government promised me this and they didn't come true. My parents promised me this, they didn't come true. My friends, my neighbors, and all of these whole lot of people. But like I said, you don't need special skill to do that.
There are lots of people who do this. People moan and complain about what the past has given them. You have people on the other side moaning about affirmative action, going, "Oh, now my kids got." You know what? There are enough people who, despite whatever the challenges is the challenges are that you moan about every day, who've actually made something of their lives in and around all of that. But
Absolutely.
But does this not start with a true assessment of oneself and understanding where you are before you can even move forward?
Yeah, I think the idea of coming from a disadvantaged background has been broadcasted in a negative way, you know, because I think that your disadvantage is actually your biggest advantage from from the way I see life. For people that are disadvantaged, it drives you. You have something that drives you. Is it poverty? Is it not having an education? Because I think for me, the fact that I didn't have a degree drove me into learning things I probably would not have had the desire to learn if I had a degree. If I had that degree, I would probably just sit back and my certificate will sort me out. Like a lot of people are sitting on those certificates. It's more like a lottery thing. One day, this certificate is going to help me. But the world has long passed that stage of relying on certificates. It's more about value. What value can you bring to the table? And when you can, and that value is so accessible, like we talk about having access to online, to the internet, the value is so accessible that people are stuck in the past. It could be the past of, whatever happened within the government, or the past of I have these 5 certificates that I got from such a prestigious university. I can't just let go of it. I spent so much money in acquiring this certificate, so I'm going to hold on to it till dead do us part or something like that. So they are not looking at, okay, this certificate is not helping me right now. Maybe it's time for me to dish it up and look for something else, which is the message in the book, because it is about disrupt yourself or be disrupted. It's about, okay, look at the trends going on in the world. See what is happening in the world. Study this and ask yourself the question, this certificate I'm having right now, is this still relevant? Or what I am currently studying, is it still relevant? Is my industry still relevant? Do I need to move? Do I need to completely let go of this certificate and try something else? Do I completely need to move away from this accounting, which I am a chartered accountant, which was something so prestigious in the past? Do I need to maybe go into digital marketing and forget this accounting thing? I mean, people are not looking at that. People are just holding on to things that are no longer serving them.
Yes, and it's because it's what they used to. It's like business models of the past. I mean, we as the media are, I think, especially on this continent, we hold on to business models as if they're teddy bears that mommy and daddy gave us when we were young. We relish them. But truth be told, the world's been disrupted around us. We're reporting on it and nobody's doing anything about it. So, some of the people who apparently have achieved in life still don't see what they need to do and should be doing.
Yeah.
And now, if I am going to open up the lines, you can call in. Maybe you think Nicky and myself, maybe we're talking the biggest load of nonsense you've ever heard. That's fine. This is not about everybody sitting around in a circle and going, hey, yes, yeah, we all agree. Let's have conversations around this. And if I just had to look, and I mentioned this yesterday as well, people in the taxi industry moaning about Uber. I mean, are you going to moan? How long are you going to moan? Or are you going to start thinking strategically around how you're going to beat Uber at its own game, maybe in a more niched form? So what are you going to do? So let's have the conversation this morning. And it's very simple. All you do is you pick up the phone and you dial 021 446 0567 and WhatsApp at 072 567 1567. If you've just tuned in, we are chatting to Nicky, an international keynote speaker, author, best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. And I think it's something that rings true for all of us. I think we've lost our call that we were going to go to, but we'll get more calls. We'll get them up rather quickly, and we can have those conversations, Nicky. And this is the best time to be having these conversations, by the way.
Absolutely.
Everybody has been disrupted.
Absolutely.
You've been retrenched.
And we are no longer being disrupted by technology. We are now being disrupted by COVID-19, And this is one thing that I remember when the book just came out last year, there were people that were arguing on the fact that, you know what, Nicky, these are like things for the West. You talk about technology, you talk about robots and all of these. These are not things for Africa. Like some people argued that we are still very much in the third industrial revolution. Some argued we are still very much in the first industrial revolution. People had different arguments about that. But now, fast forward just a couple of months later, now we are in in June, and COVID-19 has driven the whole world into digital transformation more than any other time, we could imagine. Because even right here in Africa, the most traditional businesses embrace digitization in a matter of weeks, allowed employees to work from home, put a lot of the digital, the processes on digital platforms. That would not have happened, they wouldn't have done that if there was no COVID-19.
Yep.
So for people who are even worried about technology and not wanting to embrace technology, they are being forced to right now by COVID-19.
Exactly. And it's so nice seeing CEOs squirming, trying to figure out, because people send them ideas and they go, yeah, no, it's good. We'll look at it maybe in 2030. And now all of a sudden they've got to go back to a lot of the good ideas that went to their desks to die to try and revive them. Let's take a listen. We've received a voice note on WhatsApp. We'll continue with Nicky. We'll wrap with her after 10:30. Nicky Verd, by the way, international keynote speaker, author, and best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. Let's take a listen.
Morning, Billy here. Just listening to you saying media coverage, etc., etc. I think what Paul Kagame has done is commendable with the Chinese, but I think, please, there's another side to Paul Kagame, and foreign aid is also not so kosher.
Yep.
And that's not been expressed. Please, it's Paul Kagame, and his development is wonderful, but what he has done to some foreign aid and agencies is not very kosher.
Absolutely.
I think that also needs to be brought to the fore. This is Vili from Durbanville.
Thank you, Vili. And I think Vili makes a good point. And I think we started the show off saying this. Paul Kagame isn't an angel. Xi Jinping is not an angel. Who is at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
And I think what we need to do is take the best of what we can see. If you look at a poor China a good couple of years ago with an unspoken almost contract between some of the poorest people in the country, they used that one factor of production that they had and they built wealth. And look at how they've turned that economy around. Are the Chinese good human rights supporters? Hell no. No, they're not. Is Paul Kagame responsible for some intelligence people disappearing in hotel rooms? We don't know that as a matter of fact, but he could be. But what is it that people are doing that actually works? And it's time to look at that and go, hey.
Yeah.
And just some thoughts on that, Nicky.
Yes. I remember a lot of people, even when I wrote the article, that there's some people that, will come and they try to just focus on the negative side. And I remember telling someone, you know what, let the leader, someone like he's a dictator, he's this, he's that. I'm like, let the leader that gets the work done stay for as long as he wants, as long as he's getting the work done.
Yeah.
Okay, I was in Rwanda in February, right? And I spoke to some natives, and believe you me, they are really concerned about Rwandans worrying about Paul Kagame leaving, because they are like, we feel our country is going to relapse if he leaves, just up and go. A lot of them are worried if he has really groomed a good successor, to carry on with where he has brought the country. So there are mixed feelings within Rwanda itself about him. There are people that are for, please don't leave. There are people that are like, can you get the hell out?
Yeah. International keynote speaker, author of that best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. And yes, show me one angel who's done everything right. And we should condemn people for doing what they do wrong, right? But a lot of us talk about Paul Kagame, yet we happily wear T-shirts that were made in China. A lot of us talk about China, but we happily, wear stuff that was made, under Trump's America. Or America. And we can focus on the bad and only focus on the bad, and we'll go to hell in a handbasket. Or we can say, hold on, what are some of the good things happening in various parts of the globe? And what can we do? What have individuals done, even in their private lives? What type of resilience has been shown, despite all the negative stuff that might be surrounding you? And how can I draw inspiration from that to take my life forward? But if you don't do something about it, you're going to continue wallowing in the sorrow that you wallow in.
Absolutely.
And that's not good. Can't be good for you.
No, it can't. It's not good for anyone.
Yeah. Let's highlight a little bit about what Rwanda has actually done. We spoke about I think it was 5 billion rand or dollars, I can't remember now, that they're spending to build this particular innovation hub. I mentioned the fact that they have the drone airport, the medical deliveries via drone. I spoke to the person behind that business who said, we've gone to many, many countries, and Rwanda was the first country that welcomed us with open arms and said, let's test this.
Absolutely. When I was in Rwanda, it's one of the places that we went for a tour at the drones airport, and I got to see innovation happening in the country in real time. And just like you're saying, we were told that they pitched this across so many different countries in Africa, including South Africa, but none of the countries were willing to adjust their aviation laws to accommodate this. And so when they went to Rwanda, Paul Kagame was like, yeah, of course, let's try this here. And so they adjusted their aviation laws, and they started the program, which has now grown, it's like a homegrown program that is now expanding to other parts of Africa and other parts of the world. They were planning to launch into Israel and some other parts of Europe this year, I think. But that is innovation it's homegrown in Africa. It wasn't happening anywhere else in the world, For drones to the West is for using it for photography and filming and all of that. They didn't know drones could be used for medical supplies and things like that. So it's from Africa that the rest of the world is realizing there are many uses to the drones.
Yes.
And so it was quite a humbling experience for me to actually see that happening on the continent. And with their innovation hub that we spoke about yesterday, this is a place for young people to bring in their ideas, to enhance talent, within the country, innovative talent, like people with ideas that can solve problems within Rwanda and within the continent, and why not within the world, Bring your innovative ideas. Let them test and see if this works. And then, of course, there is the partnership with other organizations for funding and all of that. So it is quite an impressive thing to see happening in Rwanda, where he wants to solve the problem of employment by enabling young people to be creative and to be solution-driven and to be solution-oriented, rather than just promising them, the government will provide you jobs, the government will provide you jobs. No, it's creating a place where they can create those jobs themselves.
Now, where does one actually start with the mindset, though? I like I said, I don't know the answers to a lot of things out there, but just from my perspective, if I look at what we teach our children at school, we're teaching them that failure is such a bad thing, and that so we don't. Obviously, it's great if you pass, right? But you come down to earth, and you'll have a very sore bum at the end of it, because if you've been doing well in school because you're great at rote learning and regurgitating information, then that's one thing. And then you have to get into the real world, where you have to start thinking out of the box. You have to start dealing with failure, and that sometimes really challenges people. Shouldn't we be teaching young kids that failure and adversity is something that one needs to embrace and, use as the fuel to move forward with?
Absolutely. I hope we get to that point of really teaching, kids from a very young age that failure is part of life, because from the education system, when you fail, you are kind of ostracized, and people just gravitate, towards avoiding failure at all costs, even as adults, And when we grow up, we think of what we went through in school failing. You can't afford to fail in real life. And that is what kills innovation. That is what kills ideas from springing up and becoming something, because people are thinking, what if I fail? What if this thing doesn't work? Or what if I look like a complete idiot or something like that?
Yeah.
And it kills creativity. There is no way creativity can thrive in a place that does not embrace failure, or the place that doesn't make it okay for people to fail. I usually, like, for myself, anyway, you asked the question earlier, like, where do I start?
Sorry, your line's breaking up there, Nicky. We're just going to see if we can get a clearer line as we wrap this particular conversation. Nicky Verd, international keynote speaker, author, best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. Maybe you've got your own story to share. I hold another view which might be which might be controversial. And I always like canvassing Joe on some of these things. Okay? I don't think people should be given homes for free.
There's a chapter in my book called Charity Cannot Cure Poverty.
Yeah. So we'll give you a home, but there's a contract with you and we'll give you some of the support for you to get onto your own feet, etc. Right? Because government has a role to play when it comes to creating an environment where people are able to flourish. But simply handing a house to someone and going, there, it's yours, we start creating this sense of entitlement.
It's horrible. It's one of the things that I completely do not agree with. And there's something I said in my book, and I said the fastest way to kill creativity or to kill an entire economy is to hand people freebies.
Mm. And that's it. And because
you want to kill innovation, you want to kill growth, you want to kill any potential of anybody becoming anything. Hand them freebies, because all they do is sit back. They know month end, I'm going to have something to survive. At least I can have my food, my whatever. Just give them those things. But within each and every human being, we have an instinct, a survival instinct built within us. Trust me, leave these people on their own. They will find a way to survive.
Yeah. I mean, listen, basic human support is needed. Yeah, but you don't just give everything to everybody.
No, you don't. Yeah. The thing is that because the government is giving and giving and giving and giving, people don't see any need to fight, you know. They don't see any need to think. Their dependence is on the government. When someone depends on someone, what is the point of them thinking? Thinking is not happening. But for someone who is sitting and they know this is on me, I have no one to look to but myself. You know, I don't have any access to government funding or government support or any of these things. Then that is when creativity thrives. That is when innovative ideas, that is at that point, in that darkest moment where innovative ideas come forward. But for someone who knows I'm sorted, you know, month and something is coming up, such a person can be innovative. They can be creative. And so these freebies, too much freebies is just a way of killing creativity that we all need as a country, as a continent right now. We need creative ideas to solve some of our problems.
Well, there we go. Nicky, great chatting to you. I want to thank you very much for your time. This was much better than the 6 minutes we had yesterday. Wonderful chat there, Nicky Verd, international keynote speaker. And you can also check out her website as well. Don't you have a website called Nicky Verd itself? I think she does. I'll get you that particular website details as well if you want to find out more about Nicky Verd.